So let's talk about this organization, Upworthy, good and Upworthy. I want to get the name absolutely correct, but both of these elements of the name mean so much. To be good, a good person is something I think that we are all striving for, to have a sense of upward worthiness. I'd love to hear how you all define that and where the name for your organization gets its genesis.
Yeah, I mean, Upworthy, our mission is to share the best of humanity with the world. Um, and it's a pretty simple mission, but one that we take really seriously. So we're trying to reach people with stories of empathy, compassion, human decency, laughter, love, the things that, bring people together, that strike deep at our humanity that frankly, I think we don't see enough of in the traditional media sphere and online, and sometimes even in our interactions with each other. So we kind of consider it our duty to go out there, reach people however we can. We have a huge following on Instagram and other social media platforms at Upworthy, at upworthy.com, where we are sharing news articles every day that shine a different light on folks. And now with this book, Good People, which is a new way to kind of reach folks and, put this ethos out there. And I think people are looking for it. I know I personally and Lucia was looking for
Mhm.
it ourselves.
And
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
to jump in on the name piece of it, because I think that's really interesting. And we've been around for 12 years. We've been doing this for a long time. Upworthy came from the idea of worth lifting up. So stories that are worth lifting up to the top of your newsfeed, to the top of your attention, because we really believe that if all you're hearing is negative stories about the world and humanity, why would you get out of bed in the morning? It makes it really hard to feel motivated to be your best self, to go out and do good work,
Mhm.
solving some of the world's biggest problems. And so we've effectively created a counter narrative to what it means to be human, which is complex and nuanced, and it's not all one thing and it's not all another thing. And there's a lot of goodness to be seen as well.
You know what's interesting is what you're evoking for me is that as our current understanding of algorithms and algorithmically driven stories and engagement online. And it's always so important for me to remember that nothing that I see online just so happened to be there. It's all tied into the way in which information is fed to us. And you all have a network of people, a social media community of 100 million strong, which is huge in terms of social media spaces, which to me, we were speaking a couple of days ago with an amazing professor, Professor Ian Haney Lopez, who is always sort of challenging me to think about race and connection and collective organizing in terms of the social good in different ways that make me very uncomfortable because I like my hard and fast bright line rules. But what you're evoking for me, just in hearing you describe your reason for existence as an organization and what it is that you were thinking about when you came up with the title the organization, is this idea that we can artificially we can play the algorithmic game as well. We have the ability to intentionally focus on what's positive as opposed to just being the mere recipients, if you will, of a constant stream of negativity. What was happening in both of your lives and in the lives of the founding body, the founding group of people? What was happening that made you realize that sort of intentional seeking of goodness, that sort of intentional uplifting of the positive was going to play a really significant role in where we are today?
Yeah, Upworthy has been around in various forms for over a decade, and the media landscape has changed a ton over that time. But what hasn't changed is the need to kind of use the tools at our disposal to get decent things out there. Systems are constantly exploited by bad actors to divide people, to make people angry, right? And there's the idea like, well, what if, you can kind of use the system to push a counter narrative as well? In the days of Facebook news and articles being shared a lot on Facebook, Upworthy was the fastest growing media company of all time, and it was the first time that Facebook ever changed its algorithm was because Upworthy was showing up so much on the news feed, and they're like, okay, we
Wow.
can't let Facebook be we only showing Upworthy links. And that was a product of understanding the kind of stuff that people engage with, and we still look to understand the systems that are at work and how those can be used as a force for good, as a force for bringing people together, as opposed to dividing people. Because, like it or not, these platforms are here to stay.
Hmm.
They are.
There's
They are.
also, Bill Gates back in 1995, which I found with my little poking around the internet, sent a memo out to Microsoft employees, and he called the internet a great tidal wave. We're basically like, it's coming, like this is coming. And it either can knock us over, knock us to the ground, or we can wield that as a tool responsibly to, use it to help us solve the world's greatest challenges and greatest problems and bring us together. And we have to be aware of the agency we also have to be able to participate in it instead of just letting it rather knock us over.
Yeah, I'm struck by the idea that we have to be active seekers of goodness, right?
Mhm.
It's there to be found. But if you have systems of communication distribution that rely on passive receptivity to negative information,
Mhm.
then we have to be that much more intentional about it. You mentioned this book, which is Upworthy Good People, and this is a book published by National Geographic, and it's got 101 handpicked stories of human decency. And I've had a chance to look at some of the articles that you've shared on your platform, and they really do make you feel good. It's like, okay, you've reminded me that not all the world is full of horrible people. Talk to us about how you all have settled on your framework for defining what makes a good story, as opposed to just something that's, okay, that's humans being human. But what makes a good story good enough to be included in a collection like this for you?
Yeah, well, in the book, a good story to us is something that stays with you, something that you want to share with other people, that teaches you
Yeah.
something about yourself or the world or the people in it, and hopefully elevates you because, that's what art is, right? That's what truth and connection is. It's an elevating thing. And so for us, when we were putting this together, we're asking our audience, because all these stories, they started out as comments on our Instagram page. And then we got to know the people who were leaving them and to get more of the story. And when we interviewed them and put it together, we realized, wow, there's something really important to share with people. And if we had that impulse, we figured other people would benefit from it as
Yeah.
well.
How did you two find each other? How did you decide that this is what, I mean, it's one thing to have a great idea. Oh, we're going to share good things on the internet, but you've been doing this for a long time now. And what was it? How did you all connect and move from the social media space to actually thinking about
Mhm.
putting this down in a book?
Yeah, so as mentioned, we've worked for our organization for a long time. It's much, bigger than the two of us. We have a whole wonderful editorial staff. We have a partnerships team, a social team that helps us run this page now. But it was really about like 5 or 6 years ago when Gabe and I saw an opportunity to harness all that was happening on Instagram. Like it sort of shifted from Facebook to Instagram. We all kind of remember that moment where Instagram
Yeah.
blew up.
Yep.
And we really started this page as a way to catalog good stories for ourselves. We were like, we're just not seeing enough of these. So it started with the two of us. And then it just started to grow so quickly that there were like, there's a demand for it. There's not to put it in weird terms, but there's demand for this type of content and these stories because it grew so quickly. We saw a massive spike in followership during the pandemic when people really needed something to hold on to, something to ground their mental health in during a time of crisis. I think there was a day we got like 50,000 followers in a day or something like that, like kind of nuts. Um, and the intention to take it offline was we very strongly believed in this because what the internet doesn't afford you is a moment of calm, a moment of focus. We are living in a world based in rapidity, based in speed. Especially in American culture, we reward productivity and exhaustion. And so
Yeah.
being able to take Upworthy as one of the most popular accounts offline was super intentional to say, wait a second, these stories that you're finding online actually deserve a moment of contemplation, a moment of restorative calm. And so try replacing the blue light from your phone at night with this book. And it gives you something to, you
Wow.
can touch it. I always say you can't touch the internet. It's kind of a bizarre thing if you think about it. And gives yourself just a chance to slow down in a
And
world
breathe.
built on
Yeah.
speed. Yeah, breathe,
Yeah.
come back to the present moment, come back to yourself, think about the things that you're grateful for and really, ground you in reality. And it's just, yeah, it's been a beautiful journey to translate that back into the real world.